What's up, YouTube? I'm Robert, and this is the Biker Channel, B1. Today, we are here on the Biker Bar, episode 11. And what we have is a pretty interesting guest. The company that he works for right now, some of you guys might be familiar with, Lizard Skins. His name is John Moon. He is actually a product designer. So we're going to go through a little bit of his career, which got him to where he's at, and then talk about where he's at as well. Kind of interesting. I think it'll be a pretty interesting conversation. So, John, I'll let you go ahead and say hello.
How's it going, everyone? My name is John Moon. I'm a product designer for Lizard Skins.
Sweet, dude. So, first of all, you are apparently friends with Richard from Stickered, right?
Yeah, I am. I know him from Leland High School. We went to Leland together. We also played football together, but I graduated 1 year ahead of him.
Oh, right on, dude. So, when you were a high school kid, were you riding bikes back then too?
Oh yeah, We have a really nice trail right next to Leland High School, and we would ride, on that trail, stuff like that.
So, you guys, were you always a mountain biker, or were you like a BMX guy when you were younger, or anything like that?
Started with BMX and then moved to mountain bike, but never really got into road bike.
Yeah. There's nothing to get into road bikes except for fucking pain, dude. Believe me.
Or spandex.
Right. I did a 70-mile road ride yesterday with my lady. I'm not a road rider, by the way. So I'm like wearing a t-shirt. Everybody's looking at my fucking ass crack the whole time. And when I finished, I just do that because the lady likes riding road and I like keeping the lady happy. But when I finished, I said to everybody there, I was like, I want you guys all to know every mountain bike ride I was ever on in my life was more fun than that.
Exactly.
So the product design stuff, man, how did you end up in getting into that? Was that something you just started out right into college with, or you kind of grew into it?
I've always been artistic, creative all my life. And obviously, when I was younger, I didn't know what to do with it. But as soon as I graduated from university, I was like, what do I do with this degree? And I saw something on TV where it said, you can design cars, you can design furniture, you can design products, cell phones, stuff like that. And I was like, whoa, what kind of degree do I have to get that to design products? And I ended up going to Academy of Art San Francisco, and they offered industrial design degree. So that's where I applied, and as soon as I graduated, I got my first job as a designer.
And then from when we were chatting earlier, you said you started out at Easton?
Yeah, so I mean, I had smaller jobs in between, but
right.
One of my bigger companies that I worked for was Easton, which is baseball and cycling company. And oddly enough, when I was at Easton Baseball, I was only industrial designer for 2.5 years, and then they had more industrial designers towards the end. But so within that time, all the products like batting gloves, ball gloves, baseball bags, hats, all the equipments kind of came through me because I was only industrial designer.
So when you say industrial designer, does that mean like let's just say for the sake of conversation, it was a bag that you were working on at Eastern. Did you design the actual bag, or was like an engineer designed the bag and then you were like making the graphics and the colorways and stuff like that? What does industrial designer mean?
Okay, so let me clarify that. So someone like Richard, who does graphics, stuff that goes on a product, would be a graphic designer. So they're more 2D, right? And then someone who creates the product would be a product designer, industrial designer. And they would work with engineers to come up with solutions to some of the things that that you would have to go through to make the product come to life. But engineers kind of come second. So product designers are the ones that are kind of creating and thinking from the beginning what the product is going to be like, how much it's going to cost, what features it's going to have, how many pockets, how many these features, and what it's going to look like, how it's going to open.
Right.
That's what
you're like framing it up.
Exactly. So that's the difference between product designer and a graphic designer.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me. So you were there at Easton for a while, and then you moved on to, I think you told me, Oakley.
Yeah, I went to Oakley right after Easton. I was at Easton for 3 years, and then I went to Oakley. I have a funny story.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I applied to Oakley, and I was waiting, and I didn't hear anything. I'm like, oh shit, maybe I didn't get the job. You know, they're not calling me back. And that after 2 weeks, it was my birthday, so I had a birthday party at a lounge, and a bunch of my friends came, and they're all in the industry. There's a buddy of mine who's a car designer at Kia. There's a Japanese friend who was working at Honda at the time, and so on and so forth. So all my friends, the group of friends, are designers.
Right.
And it was like, yeah, what are you doing these days? You know, who are you working for? And I told him the story. I'm like, hey, you know, I'm still at Easton, but I just put my my application at Oakley. I really want to work there. And the guy's like, oh yeah, who was the guy you talked to? Who was the HR manager? And I said, John something.
Right.
And he was like, oh my gosh, I know that guy. So my Japanese friend apparently knew the HR and literally had beer with him the day before.
Oh, sweet.
Because John, who's a head of HR, used to work in Japan, married a Japanese wife, and he was working at Oakley at the time. And his wife was friends with my friend's wife, so they were all hanging out the day before. And he was.
You know, that there's one thing that I've learned in life, man, is it's all about fucking networking, dude. And it is a small world. It's really funny when those things kind of fall into place like that. So, so your buddy knew this dude that was working on hiring you. Do you think that really played into it?
I think so. I mean, I had a pretty solid resume, but at Oakley, it's kind of who you know, because there's so many people applying for the same position. So how do you stand out? And how do you?
I would imagine everybody wants to be there, right? You know, that's like that would be like tech guys working for Intel. You know, they're like, dude, that's fucking where you want to go, right?
Yeah. So, bottom line, he goes, "Hey, let me call him up right now," and it's like 12:30 Friday night. I'm like, no, that's not gonna help me get a job.
Yeah, you're like, don't do that, dude. Don't fuck this shit up.
So I'm like, why don't wait till Monday and give him a call saying your friend applied, blah blah blah, and yeah, I got a call, I got an email back, went in for a first interview, and got the job.
There you go.
And I was
so you go from designing baseball gear to doing glasses. So at Oakley, do you just walk in, you're like, last night I was thinking about doing some glasses like this, and you just kind of like come up with any like thing that you drew on your own, like, or is that something where it's like, oh well, we have these, you know, frame sets that we use, we only want you to modify it a little bit? Or do you have some kind of like sounding board where you can just go in and be like, I'm gonna take Bono's glasses from that video and make them look like Oakley's?
Let me clarify on some of the products that I worked on. So at Oakley, they have a eyewear team. What the department that I applied for was accessories team, which is doing bags, carriers, hats, gloves, tactical gloves, riding gloves.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it was more of a transition for me, a better transition for me, going from, you know, baseball bags, baseball glove, baseball equipment to Oakley accessories versus going straight to eyewear.
Right.
Guys, believe it or not, a lot of the eyewear guys are ex-car designers.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So one guy came from Hyundai, the other guy came from Mercedes, so on and so forth. So they all kind of have this car background. And that's where they get a lot of the stylings are coming from.
That makes sense. Kind of, I can see that. Do you think that there's like a natural progression with that, or do you think it's just so? I mean, they're like you said, it's like know who you know, so they're like hooking up their buddies, and like that's why there are other car guys in it, or?
I would say half and half. Yes, there's definitely who counts, but you got to have talent. There, at the end of the day, I mean, you bring your shit friend who doesn't know how to design, but he got hired just because he knows somebody.
Right.
If your work is not up to par, your
it is what it is at that point, right?
They're gonna know that, hey, you're not the right guy for the position.
So you said you were doing gloves as well. So you were doing like riding gloves, or just like
all gloves. So cycling, tactical, and we had, I think those were the two verticals that had gloves.
So we had Oakley does tactical stuff. They do stuff for like police departments or something like that.
Military. Yeah, we have a huge military contract program. They even have a website that's dedicated to that. You can only order stuff if you're in the service, if you are a police officer, if you're ex-military or still in the military, you can use your identification number to get discounts and buy the actual tactical gear.
Oh, they have a veterans program too. It's not just like active duty people.
Yeah, it's for both. Yeah, off duty as well.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know about that. I'm gonna have to look it up now. So,
si.com.
What was that?
si.com, I believe.
Huh. Right on. So, how long were you at Oakley?
Roughly about 3 years.
Yeah. What were some of the projects that you did there that you were really stoked on?
So, like I said, I had the tactical category. We shared surf because there's surf and lifestyle was one of the bigger categories that we had. So we had, in my department, there were 3 of us, 3 designers, and we kind of all helped out with lifestyle and surf, but everyone kind of got their own. So mine was tactical and golf, and then the other guy got training and surf or something like that. So we kind of divided up the vertical.
Uh-huh. Are you a golfer?
Not really. Never got into that. But
so how do you go about like coming up with product designs for something that like a sport that you're not active in?
So here's the thing. I don't have to be a professional cyclist in order for me to design a cycling product. I have a lot of training. I have a lot of background in material designing, measurements, and all that to guide me there. And I do work with professional athletes or people that are in the industry to get their feedback. So
you call up freaking whoever it is, and you're like, hey, like, what is it that you like about your glove? What is it that you wish you had better? And then you kind of like translate what they're saying. So when they say, well, I don't like how stretchy this material is, you're like, oh, okay, I know we need to use this different type of stuff, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So I really rely on their feedback, but at the same time, they can't draw, they can't think up, this product. They know what they're like. They're pros. They're in the industry, but at the same time, they can't do what I do. I can't do what they do. But
totally.
If I take their experience and their knowledge, I can come up with a better product.
Uh-huh.
So that's how I usually work.
Yeah, no, I hear you, dude. I probably have about 50 things that I could talk to you about freaking making better. I'm sure it's pretty interesting. So now along the way here, so you move on from Oakley and you decide to go work for Lizard Skins, right?
So I actually got scouted out. I'm at Oakley, I'm having fun. I get a phone call saying, hey, we know someone that you worked with in the past, and that's how I got your information. And they're like, this is Lizard Skins. They're in Utah. They're a cycling company, but they also have a baseball company. So which is kind of like, it was perfect for me because I've done both. I've done cycling and baseball.
What does Lizard Skins have that's baseball?
they have a whole baseball category, and they're making more money than cycling, and they were originally a cycling company. So
I didn't even know that they did anything for baseball at all. So like baseball and softball, like just all together, or just baseball?
Yeah, we just launched into softball and hockey, and we even have a MLB license.
Oh wow!
Yeah, which is huge because there's only, let's say, 12 MLB license in the whole world. Oakley has the eyewear. New Era has the hat. Stans socks. I believe Under Armour Fanatics together, they have the apparel. MLB license. Franklin has the batting glove license. Shoes by New Balance. So on and so forth.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But Lizard Skins, they do the grips. They do the baseball batting grip.
So like the tape and stuff?
Yeah, so you know how they're known for their cycling tapes, right?
Right. Well, let's take a step back. Let's talk about Lizard Skin. So where are they from? You said they were from Utah. How long they been around?
They've been around for 25 years. This is their, 25-year anniversary.
Oh, that's cool. And how did they start out?
So it started with, with one guy, obviously, the founder of the company. And, a lot of the similarity as to other companies where, he's selling stuff out of the garage. And it was literally just one neoprene chain stay or chain guard, so that you put this neoprene guard on your bike and it protects from the chain hitting the frame. And
I remember that product. Now that you say that, I totally remember that product.
And that's how they started. They started very small mom and pop shop, and then
because it was like almost like a scuba material with just a piece of Velcro on it. You just wrapped it around the chainstay there, and it just kept it made the chain slap noise not as loud, and then it didn't fuck up your frame
it didn't chip the frame or anything like that. So that was one of their first products. That's how Lizard Skin was born. However, that was their growing stage or whatever until they got into this grip business. So they came across this material where it's patented. It's very soft. It's tacky, very grippy, and it has 3 different thicknesses. So, and it's pretty long.
So they started doing tape for road bikes, or just tape for
I believe they started out BMX first, like mountain bikes and BMX grips. So such as North Shore, single lock on, and then they moved on to double lock on, or slip on silicone, kind of like the Ari grips. And then I believe somewhere in that timeline, they came across this tape, and I believe that's when they blew up, and they started coming out with different colors, different patterns, camel shapes or camel patterns, different camel colors, patterns, things like that. That's when it took off. And
so really the tape for the road bike bars and crossbars, that's what really kind of launched them.
Exactly. So now they're being shown on the national level, Tour de France, and the winner who had our tape. It was just blasted all over the advertising and stuff like that. And
I mean, somebody winning the Tour de France, that's pretty good.
That's something you want to buy for your bike,
right? That's funny. Yeah. So, what is it is there anything particular with that the grips now that is, kind of stands out between them and somebody else, or?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of competitors out there that are offering similar products. Kind of like Vulcan, which is for baseball. There's a cycling one from SoCal that's doing pretty well, but still on a smaller scale. I forgot their name.
Yeah. So whenever somebody comes to you and they're like, so I saw you at Interbike, so you're there to talk to all these bike shops about the product that you guys have. like on the mountain bike line, for example, like what is the differences in the models?
So
Is
we
like
have
mostly just like the diameter of the hand, or like has to do with the grips, or
exactly. So all those kind of play in the part. We have so many handles, and they all have um, their benefits, different specs for different riding, your hand size and stuff like that. So we have a small, medium, large diameter to fit different style of riding, different size hands. If you're doing a lot of tricks and doing a lot of jumps, you don't want a death grip on your bike. You want to stay light and grip when you need to, stay loose when you don't have to.
uh-huh.
And I believe those are 29 millimeter Danny McCaskill's. Those are really good for it. And then something like our North Shore, which is right around 31, 32 millimeter diameter, it's more of a comfort riding grip. And people really love the lock-on grips. So just slide on, lock it in, and you don't have to worry about that. And then also people who are really particular about the grips not twisting when they ride, they
Yeah.
prefer the double lock on so that it's fixed at one end and it's also fixed at the other end.
Yeah, that's what I use. I think most people nowadays are using lock-on grips, and for the most part, I would make the assumption they're all the double lock on brand. I mean, I would imagine that there's a few people. There are some brands. I think you guys do have some too. That's a single lock on and then the rubber like actually goes around the end of the bar, so you don't need to have a bar end put on it, like a little bar cap. So,
Yeah.
but I think for the most part, most people are probably using the double lock on. At least that's what I see with most other people that I ride with.
For the mass, I think that's what they prefer.
Yeah.
Let me share one more thing about how the baseball thing came about. There's a cool story to it.
Sure,
So
let's hear it.
you know how we had the long race bike tape, the handlebar tape,
Mm-hmm.
and our general manager, he's friends or neighbors and friends with John Buck, professional baseball player.
Uh-huh.
What he did was he took our tape, cut it in half, and he wrapped a baseball bat with it. And literally, that's how the baseball department came about. And
All right.
now, like I said, now our baseball department is doing way better, making more money than cycling department.
That's crazy. That's totally crazy. It's funny. Once again, it's just funny how those things happen. Like we said, here it is, this dude's neighbor, and next thing you know, there it is.
Yeah.
So you had told me an interesting story that I didn't know when we were at Interbike, that Lizard Skins actually owns Owry now.
Yeah, they bought him out, or our president bought the brand out last year. So
you had said originally, like the company was like the owners were retiring or getting really old or something like that.
So the owner passed away. The original Owry owner passed away, and then his wife and his brother, I believe, they were all in the business together, but his wife didn't want to be in the business anymore. So she wanted to sell the business. However, she didn't want to sell the business and have the office workers, the factory workers, be out of job because of something that happened to them. Like, she was very down to earth, nice person, cared about the workers for the brand. And there were many companies, big name companies, that put a bid in for the to buy the Owry Group company, and I can say that we weren't the highest bid, but she took our bid because our president promised her that we're going to keep the factory open. We're going to keep ordering from that factory. Everyone's going to have their job still.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she liked that. So that's how the president was able
So basically, as far as the Owry brand goes, you guys aren't really changing anything. You're not doing anything to it. You're just continuing to manufacture what they do.
Exactly. It's made in USA product. They're keeping it how it is, as is, maybe adding a few more colors to kind of line up what we're doing. But we're keeping, for the most part, we're keeping packaging the same, the product the same, just kind of keep that USA product alive.
Yeah, no, it's a great product too. I mean, you guys have a grip that's really similar to Lizard Skins, don't you?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
What's the name of the one that you guys have?
Let's see here.
I think the only difference is you guys have different diameters in them, if I remember correctly. So, like, I think the Owry ones are still a little bit bigger in diameter, if I remember.
So the difference between the Owry ones and the Lizard Skin ones, even though now we're same company, Owry is more, I believe, focusing on colors. Whereas we're kind of coming in with, like you said, different grips, different we're getting a little more technical. So ours is called the North Shore. It's a single compound grip.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's it's the most similar one to Owry grip, but it's different spec wise.
So what kind of stuff are you working on as far as like what's a product designer doing when they're somewhere like Lizard Skins?
So right now we're going back into our new product year. So what I would go, so this is how my cycle or my pattern looks like. I would design all the new products. When they pass that off, let's just call that first quarter. Second quarter is all development. So it goes to factory, it comes back, the sample comes back. We make changes to the sample. We make costing. If it costs too much, we take a couple things, we tweak it out, change the material, whatever, and then that goes into production. And then the third quarter would be like, let's look at the next year's product, start designing, start researching, and then we have a big design meeting. And then it gets sent to the factory, and that's the fourth quarter. And once again, it's the development quarter, which is reviewing samples, reviewing costing, Q&A, stuff like that.
So are you working with the grips department? Are you working on the grips, or are you working on the tape, or what? Like, because you said you had the baseball background, so
yeah, I'm working on all the products. So I'm involved in all the products from Lizard Skins. So far,
and you ride mountain bikes still, right?
Yeah, I have 5 bikes in my garage right now.
What are you rocking out there? What do you got in the garage?
So I've got a buddy our friends who are distributors at Fox. So I got a Fox mountain bike. I got a Iguana, and let me see what I have a single speed. Just a toy that I'm just messing around with, and then the latest one I bought. Forgot the name. Hold on 1 second.
It's all right. Don't worry about it.
Hold on.
Here he goes, just like that, and he's gone. If you guys have any questions that you want to ask him that pertain to the design industry or something like that may be interesting for you to hear, go ahead and shoot them up in the chat, and we'll take a look at that while we're chatting as well. What was the other one?
KHS.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So we have a buddy at KHS, and he hooked me up with that bike. And he added all these new components and stuff like that. So it's an awesome bike.
So in the design process of like grips, for example, is there anything that like is your personal touch that where you're like, oh, I like my grips to be this way, and that's how I'm throwing this design up? Or are you still pretty much just relying on what the pros are telling you?
Yes, and there's both. There's stuff that we get from the pros and pro riders that are telling us what they want. So Danny McCaskill grip was definitely it's what he wanted versus something that we talk about internally and come up with our own and our research department. would be more like our North Shore and our Moab and stuff like that.
One of the people in the chat said that you should design a rubber derailleur hanger.
Rubber, a what? Gorilla?
A rubber derailleur hanger, because so then it won't break whenever you crash.
I'll look into that.
Yeah, he's being sarcastic, but
Yeah, so,
nonetheless. So, what kind of stuff that are you working on over there right now that's got you excited?
So right now, I'm working on new gloves. I've already got it kind of all the way till, I would say 90% done. And if I can show it to you, it's a Flyknit mountain bike glove. And it's really cool. If you can see the pattern here, can you see that?
Yeah. So this is also a podcast after the fact, so I'll just kind of try to explain it a little bit. And it basically has like an open mesh, like you would see, like almost like an old school laundry bag in the glove, down the fingers and the top of the hand as well. So it looks like it'll breathe really well.
So let me explain it differently.
Okay, go for it.
So I call it Flyknit, but we can't use that name because obviously it's owned by Nike, the name. But I love these shoes, and that's how they're made. They're super light, and if you look into it, it's engineer knit.
Right.
So the machine prints out this knit pattern, and I was like, I want to make that into a glove. So this was my inspiration, and I got it I found a factory that does shoes, and I have them print out the top, and I sent it to our factory who does all the bottom sewing. This has the gel padding, stuff like that.
So then how do you work? So you have personal relationships with like these companies overseas, or is like they already had some like deal with lizard skin, so you just like you hit up the vendor that they use? That's how that goes? Or
so the answer is yes. You have to have this personal relationships with the vendors, with the factories, because without them you're half of the product. You can dream up what you want, but if no one can make it, then the product doesn't come through. We have a really good factory. We have a really good vendor that we're working with, both bags and gloves. And this is the same vendor that I'm working with that does gloves for DeMarini, Easton, and Oakley. So these are people that I worked with before. So even though you change jobs, you kind of stay with the same factory. There's not, like 10 different factories that you can just go to and be like, hey, can you make my stuff? It's very limited.
So pretty much most of the gloves that everybody's making are coming out of 1 or 2, maybe 3 different factories, something like that.
I would more like 5, I would say.
Yeah.
They're the top ones, and let's say they do find something that's cheap or whatever in China, but they have a bad experience or for some reason.
Where are these factories? Where are they located? Where are these all coming from?
So the gloves are coming from Indonesia. And they used to be an ex-golf glove manufacturer. And then the bags are coming from Vietnam. And they're pretty much number 1, number 2 in the industry. They have 2 separate factories. One does really high-end leather handbags, Coach, Gucci, Tory Burch, all the women's.
Oh wow!
And then the other one is called it's called PK2, PK1, PK2. PK2 is the outdoors department, and they do all their sporting bags like Mammut, Oakley, Sierra Nevada, Sierra something. It's
really interesting to know that like most of the products that we purchase are really made from like the same manufacturing companies. It's just different design guys like you dreaming this stuff up. But as far as like who's like actually
making the bag.
Producing the product is just a small group of companies. It's rather interesting, you know.
It's pretty cool. I mean, like when I go to Asia, and any given day I go to their office, and there's team from Lululemon having a meeting in their big conference room, and I'm in the next room, and there's a bunch of people from North Face. They usually try like 9-8 people in their team.
Wow.
And yeah, you can see who's kind of there. So yeah, we're definitely.
How often do you have to go overseas for something like that?
I usually go twice a year. So one per design cycle. So like I said, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. First quarter is design, then I send everything out, and then second quarter is development. So within that cycle, I go to Asia. So that will be about end of March, and then also in
So at that
November.
point, what are you trying to do? You're trying to like get them to like build your prototype, or you're trying to make sure that you're going to like look at materials, or like what's the reason for going at that point?
So it's really, you're buying time. Obviously, the company wants to make products and have it come out at a certain time. We don't have to go to Asia and try to email back and forth, and send a sample out every 2-3 weeks and wait for it. But yeah, you can do that. You can save maybe a couple $1,000s doing that. However, time is money, and by going there, you're saving probably 2 months of development time. Because one, they have everything there, factory material wise, and while I'm there, you play the telephone game. You tell someone one thing, that person tells someone else something, and at the end you get
it's all
something that's
screwed up,
completely different. Exactly. So the purpose of the trip is to reduce that. So I go there, and they come up with a sample, and I'm there directly, the guy who designed it, saying,
right?
no, I want this to be this way. I want this to be black. I want this to be, opening
Right.
this way. So they get it from the horse's mouth, pretty much, just direct.
It speeds up the process.
Exactly. So
somebody was asking in the chat, they were like, what is the reason that you can't produce, like, manufacture in the US? Like, what is it that
so there's a reason why you tend not to.
So what's that?
One is the labor cost. So the reason why we go to Asia is because their labor costs, their standard of living is a lot lower than US. So it's kind of like first world, third world type of thing, where if they're not as developed, their standard of living is a lot lower.
Yeah.
So their wage is, let's say in Vietnam they'll make, don't quote me on this, but it's literally, someone here working at In-N-Out gets paid, let's say $13 an hour.
Right.
Someone in Vietnam would make about $1.50 to $2 an hour.
Right.
Working at, let's say Starbucks or whatever, somewhere
huge difference.
Huge difference. So that's why a lot of the manufacturers are going to Asia to get the products made. And with US, there's a lot of things that we do well, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that we don't do well. And certain things like glove, it's definitely better in Asia for now.
Yeah, I hear you there. And, at the end of the day, regardless of like paying for tariffs or shipping or whatever, obviously it's still cheap enough that's what everybody's doing. I mean, when you look at all of the big companies, like even what you said, I mean, it's like those bags that are like Coach bags that these chicks are paying, out the rear end for, they're coming out of the same factory that the Walmart bags are coming out of, So it's just a matter of what products that you're using and what your quality control is, and then it is what it is, right?
Yeah, and a lot of it is that, like you said, it's a brand power. Obviously, you're gonna pay a lot more for Gucci or Coach than Walmart brand. So there's the brand power. So Nike bag is, let's say, 150 versus JanSport, $50, something like
Right.
that. So there is a brand power, but going back to the one of the viewers' question is the tariff. So we're paying 17.5%, let's say, coming out of Vietnam. So people are everything used to be made from China. You know that everything was made in China, because all the manufacturing was done there. However, a lot of the factories made money. A lot of people are making more money, and they're demanding more money. So
Mm-hmm.
their labor costs kept going up, 7.8%, 9% per year. So a lot of the manufacturers couldn't keep up with that. So that's why they moved out to Vietnam, they moved out to Thailand, Myanmar, other countries. And the thing is, it's going to be the same in maybe 5 years. Their labor's uh, their labor's going to go up.
Right. Eventually, it's going to go up everywhere, and then at that point, it is what it is, right?
Well, yes and no. We do have some solutions regarding that. So you know how China is going to be right now. I believe it's 20%, but it's going to go up to 25 is what I'm hearing. So people are already freaking out, and we're not just talking about like small brands. We're talking about Nike, Under Armour, like the big guys, and
Right.
they get the news kind of before we do, because it's just how big they are. And so now they've been kind of preparing for about a year. So Indonesia is 0% tariff due to GSP. So it's kind of like free trade. And there are
What
kind
does
of
that mean? GSP. What's GSP?
GSP. GSP. Let me see. It stands for. I'm gonna have to look that up. I don't want to give out the
wrong information, because there's a bunch of people fact checking fucking biker channel, dude.
Hey, dude, this is definitely coming from the industry.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm just making jokes, dude.
Oh, here you go. Okay, so you know how we have what do you call it? NATO, which is
yeah,
North America trade, whatever. And
yeah. They're working on changing that right now.
in Asia, so I'm gonna read the information here. It says GSP stands for Generalized System of Preference, and GSP is a preferential tariff system which provides for a formal system of exemption from the more general use rules of World Trade Organization. And with that, there's a list of certain countries that are included in that, which is Thailand, Indonesia, Myanmar, Africa.
So basically, those guys got a good deal on
It's a zero, yeah.
on labor rates for right now.
Not
on the tariff. I mean, I'm sorry.
Tariff, yeah. So, but at the same time, those countries do have low labor cost.
Right.
So some of the
so once that goes away, then it's gonna get expensive. So
it's a cycle. It's gonna go up and it's gonna go down again, and they're gonna start looking for another country that isn't as developed, still with cheaper labor.
Yeah, I hear you. So what kind of stuff are you working on here back in the cycling industry? Let's talk about some of that stuff.
So let me talk about the backpack. Here's a cycling bag that's already been designed. I'm actually working on a 2.0 version of this bag. You bought this bag at the show, didn't you?
I think Richard and his buddy did.
Okay.
So it's kind of looks like a dry bag for those of you guys that are listening. So it's like a flat across the top and it rolls down.
Yeah.
So when I say dry bag, I'm assuming people know what I'm talking about that are into kayaking and canoeing. But
if they're into cycling, they'll probably know what it is. Like, it's also known as the roll top bag. But what's cool about this bag is I use a fid lock.
It's got a little magnetic lock on it there.
lock closure, so it's pretty cool. So you can operate it with one hand, and
Right on.
also with the sternum, I used a magnetic closure.
Yeah, it seems like that magnetic closure is kind of taken off on a bunch of stuff. I've seen a few helmets now that have a similar system on it as well.
Yeah, and that's where it comes from. It comes from the helmet world. But I'm working on a 2.0 version of that bag, and obviously I can't show you the design right now, but some of the features that are updated is you're going to get a little more compartments, so you can, there's a little more organization, there's better compartmentalized areas. So let's say you want to have all your chargers and wires go in, it'll be kind of tucked in the way it's supposed to be. So this bag was more general use, I would say. And then now we're kind of getting more specific. Size-wise, I believe it'll stay the same.
Do you guys do some kind of bag that's like a camelback kind of bag, or is it more like just like backpacks?
We're not getting into camelback, and there's a whole discussion to
hydration pack, nothing like that. Yeah.
Hydration pack, because so a lot of the bags actually just make it with a pocket and have people buy the camelback bladder,
right?
So that's how some brands are doing it. Another brand is doing it with the bladder inside, but they're paying for out of their butt, having that inside included, the bladder.
Right. So, I hear you. What other kind of fun stuff you working on?
So another glove that I'm working on is, so you know how we went from a couple more things here. So we did the Flyknit, and we're going into road bike. So it's the same technology. So this will be your high vis for someone who's riding for 2-3 hours and kind of coming back when it's dark. High vis. And then some padding here, ventilation here, pull tab. But it's super light. Imagine like the shirt you have on right now, but it's got a bunch of holes in it.
Right.
So you have half of a shirt on.
Right.
Kind of like a football jersey. So it's kind of like that.
Yeah, definitely. So it cuts down on the weight.
Exactly. And then obviously improves the air circulation as well. So
what kind of thought process goes into what pads to use in there, and how does that get designed?
What pads? Like padding here?
Yeah. I mean, is it kind of just like, we just need a pad, or is there like a bunch of different materials to choose from, or the placement? Yes. Is there anything where you're working with like a I'm going to use the wrong name, not a physical therapist, but like somebody that does like range of motion, like sports medicine kind of stuff. Like I can't think of it.
We're not really working with anyone from medical field. We are working with riders, and let's say they complain about, I want more padding here versus here, stuff like that. And to your first question, is there a list of materials that we choose from? Yes, there's so many different types of foam. There's memory foam, open cell foam, and there's also gel, and there's silicone, there's blue gel, there's Poron. There's so many different type of material, but a lot of it is kind of marketing. And another thing would be cost. So if it's a higher cost, higher retail glove, then we put, let's say, higher type of cushion. We put gel in there. And if it's a price below that one, and it's strategically priced at a certain level, then let's say the middle one gets foam, gets a memory foam versus gel. And then, so in our industry, we have this thing called good, better, best.
Right.
So you can understand where good is your kind of an opening price, better is your middle point price where you have most of the features, and then your best has all the
all the bells and whistles.
all the bells and whistles, pretty much.
Right.
So yeah.
Right.
So
Are you guys using some kind of like antimicrobial kind of like
antibacterial, antimicrobial?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Thank you.
So no, we haven't really. That was kind of I believe it's kind of a fad, kind of a.
Yeah, I wasn't sure, like your gloves start stinking and stuff like that. So I was thinking maybe you're using some kind of looking into some stuff like that.
So it's machine washable. So we're not using anything, antimicrobial, anything like that.
Yeah.
It's synthetic leather, X suede, super resistant, super durable, and it's really after a few rides, you just toss it in the washer out like short cycle though. Mm-hmm. Cold water, short cycle. So you don't want to do hot water or long cycle. And that's how you would take care of your glove. I mean, it doesn't need to have antimicrobial stuff in it. Then obviously going into fourth quarter, I'm designing a cold weather glove. So it's got dual membrane. So it means it's got a liner layer and waterproof outer membrane for your rainy day, cold weather riding. And because of that, all the finger and all forefinger area and up to the half of the palm has silicone prints. So you can
what is needed? Is the silicone what's needed for you to be able to use your phone?
No, it's not. No, that's not it. So silicone has nothing to do with that.
What's the material that they're using so that I can like touch the screen of my phone?
So there's a name for it. We call it Touch Tech, which is on these two fingers.
Right.
So the whole fingertip is that Touch Tech material.
So it's just some kind of like special plasticky kind of stuff. What is it?
So the best description would be it's a material that conducts electricity.
So ultimately that's what's going on is it's trying to conduct the electricity from your fingers into your screen?
Exactly.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, whereas some of these waterproof membrane or other synthetic materials like polyester, they don't conduct electricity. Whereas this Touch Tech material does. So it from your fingertip to this Touch Tech material, and you touch your iPad or your iPhone, so the electricity travels through that, which allows you to, use your phone while riding.
Right. I had a pair of gloves recently that didn't have that on it. It was really annoying.
Yeah, so you're gonna take it off just to answer the phone or check the time, whatever, right?
Yeah, or I use my nose, which really looks fucking silly. So, especially when you're trying to type your freaking your passcode in because the stupid facial recognition didn't work. It looks like I'm making out with my iPhone. It's fucking low.
And a lot of people, obviously, we have the voice command, so we don't have to touch the phone as much. But like you said, you need to get into it first, unlock it, whatever, and then you can use your voice command. So it's very useful to have that technology in the glove.
So outside of this stuff that you've done with Lizard Skins and Oakley and Easton over the years, you also have your own brand that you've been building on your little side hustle kind of going on.
Yeah, it is kind of a side hustle. I really got into, I don't want to say fashion, but clothing, lifestyle, streetwear when I was at Oakley. So I wanted to kind of create my own brand, and it took me about a year to kind of come up with the name and the concept behind it. And my brand's called Collab. So that's the name right now, Collab. Website, collab-brand.com. And so everything's designed by me.
So what was the reason? What was the reason to name collab? If it's all about you.
So it's not all about me. Collab is obviously stands for collaboration. It's short for collaboration. So there was a period of time where a lot of the recording artists, rappers, they're doing, something featuring this artist, and they were doing a lot of collaboration. And then there was a lot of big brands like Nike, collab, something else. And then Supreme obviously does a lot of that stuff, right? Supreme collab with, what's the brand? I almost said Prada, but I don't think it's Prada. Louis Vuitton.
Oh, okay.
So Louis Vuitton did a wallet with Supreme print on it. So a lot of these crossover collaboration going on. So I was kind of inspired by that. And
so what kind of stuff do you guys do?
So it's pretty much lifestyle and streetwear. And we got a lot of hats. We got shirts. We got hoodies.
Oh, I like the font on that one.
So this is more, like lifestyle. And then this is more athletic. And like I said, we have shirts.
So with your stuff, then you're ordering this in bulk, and then you're just sitting on the inventory until you sell it through your website.
Yes and no. One is we don't do like high quantity. It's kind of we all kind of work on small quantity. So a lot of the stuff is limited production. So I'm not sitting on hundreds of t-shirts, hundreds of this and that. So it's a small quantity. So it's more manageable financially, et cetera, et cetera.
So you're getting that done overseas though still?
No. So these are all done in U.S. Shirts are printed in U.S., made in U.S. Hats are done in U.S., made in some of the hats are made in another country, but we buy the blank and we print it, or we do the embroidery here in USA.
Oh, right on. And then those are from like connections that you've got in the industry, or you just kind of went out and sought out your own vendors for that kind of stuff?
Yes and no. One, I did have a business partner who was doing all the prints for me, and then now I'm doing kind of working with local printers, whoever has good pricing.
Yeah, right on, man.
Yeah.
So you're still riding bikes? Where do you ride bikes at?
So there's a really nice trail right by my house, which is like from where I am. I'm in Southern California, Irvine, and I'm right below Peters Canyon, and the trail is called Peters Canyon.
Oh, right on.
From literally right behind my house, I can ride all the way down to Newport Beach and up to Huntington Beach. It'll be a 2-hour ride, but I mean, it's a awesome trail.
Right on. I think I've looked at that trail system. The company I work for has an office in Irvine. I was looking for something to ride the last time I was down there. I think I know exactly where you're talking about.
Yeah.
So, man, anything else exciting you want to talk about?
I'm actually traveling to Asia in 3 weeks to work on some of the things that I showed you and some of the things that I can't show you, obviously. Some of the things are top secret. So some of the, I don't want any corporate espionage going on. But yeah, there's some good stuff going on. Hopefully I can share it to you once it's sampled up and I have a permission to show you guys. Then I'll definitely share that with you. Yeah,
it'd be super fun, man. Well, man, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to sit down and chat with us here on the Biker Bar, and it was definitely interesting to kind of get a different perspective of how things are done in the design realm. I asked you guys if you want to go check out his website. It's collab-brand.com. So if you're a Southern California guy, or actually a native California, we'll just say it that way. And we'll catch up with you, man. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, no problem, Robert. I had fun.
Right on, man. Well, as you guys know, Biker Bar is on every Sunday at 5 p.m. PST. And if you didn't know, you can also catch it on a podcast on Apple, Google Play, and SoundCloud. I appreciate you guys coming in and hanging out with me today. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Hit the subscribe button if you want to pay attention to this happening more often. I don't usually say that, but today I am. So anyways, hey guys, remember it only takes a bike to be a biker. Get out and be one, bitches.